Hi, this is Igor from the Remote Chess Academy, and today's lesson is about the 5 main lessons I've learned from my 25 years of professional experience in chess. Now I'm turning 31, and let me take this opportunity to thank you for all the birthday greetings that you sent to me. This is very touching, and it also motivated me to do something nice for you. That's why I decided to take this opportunity to sit down and just summarize my entire experience over all of these years. My own experience as a player on amateur level and later on professional level, on a Grandmaster level, and also the experience of all of the students that we've had in the Remote Chess Academy that I had earlier as a private students. So there is really extensive feedback that I have regarding what works for people and what doesn't. If you follow these 5 tips, they will ensure your smooth and constant chess progress. Alright, enough intro, let's go to the tips. Here's the first example. It is white to play, and please think about it for a moment. How would you play here as white? This is the game between 2 amateur players that you probably don't know. The white player is 1660 rated and the black player is 1800 rated. So think about it. How would you play here as white? In the actual game, white played pawn to a3. Probably he wanted to prepare black knight from jumping there. However, it was a mistake because black replied knight to g4, and all of a sudden it turns out that now white's queen is under the attack, but in addition to that, the d4 pawn is under the fire of black's knight and the bishop. And all of a sudden white is in big trouble. He cannot save all of his pieces and pawns simultaneously, and therefore he lost the d4 pawn and later on lost the game. This is a very common pattern. Most of the games on amateur level are lost due to these kind of oversights. And this is one of the main reasons for inconsistent results, where at times you play well, but sometimes you lose a game where maybe you even had a superior position. And let's also figure out why this happens, because that's the real key. So let's take a step back. First of all, knight g4 is not a very difficult move. You know, the move that white overlooked. It's not a combination, it does not require deep calculation or deep positional understanding or anything. People overlook these moves because we're captured by our own plans of ideas and we don't take equal amount of attention to think about our opponent's intentions, his plans and what he's going to do. It is natural, we all think that way, so it's perfectly normal, but we need to do something about that. And the way to counteract this problem is when you decided which move you're going to play. Let's say in this example, white decided that, alright, I'm gonna go pawn to a3. Before playing this move on the board, you need to ask yourself this magical question. What are the eventual attacking replies that my opponent can play? Usually those are the forward moves of his pieces on your territory of the board that attack something. And if you ask yourself this question, you'll notice that in most of the cases, there are not many opportunities. Like, what are the attacking moves that black can possibly play here? Really not many. So if you just take this second to make this anti-blunder check, you will prevent 80% of the losses in your games. I call this check anti-blunder check. I've also recorded a separate free lesson about it. I'll provide the link below in the description where I elaborate more in depth on this subject. So if you want, check this out. But anyway, the first tip for having stable, good results in chess is to always have this anti-blunder check. Now let's go to the tip number 2. And in this case, this is another game between 2 amateur players. The white player is 1800 rated and the black player is 1950. So let me just show you the first couple moves of this game. I don't comment on them too much. These are opening moves. Anyway, let's just have a look at them. And this is a very typical game, you know. I did not look for some very specific example. I just took basically almost the very first game that randomly opened in my database. Alright, let's pause here. What do you think about the white side and the moves of the white player up to now? Like, were they good, bad, or average? What do you think about it? Pretty often people came to me, you know, for private coaching, and when I started looking at the games like this, it was even pretty hard to comment on it because, like, almost every move is wrong to some extent. You know, so it's even hard to point a certain specific mistake. Because the thing is, yeah, I know that these are kind of book moves, but anyway, they're wrong, even if they are book moves. The thing is, in the opening, like the very first task that we need to do is to develop minor pieces and castle. And now look at what white did instead. Like, first of all, he locked his own dark squared bishop, which currently has no squares where to go. Then instead of castling, he made some queen e2 move, which was unnecessary in this given moment. So white was doing a bunch of various stuff instead of following the main guideline, to develop minor pieces and castle, first of all, in the opening. And this is a very common problem for the modern chess players. There is overdose of information, and you start learning different things, and on one hand you know a lot of information about chess, but on the other hand you don't have a certain clear guideline of which one to follow, which way to follow. And that's why it happens that people start having these little bit of inconsistent results and random moves. Now, another thing, pay attention to the fact that white has currently one pawn in the center while black has two pawns. So black already has a little bit superior position in the center, while it should normally be the other way around. White should be ahead in controlling the center. So it's just one more thing to show that white is obviously doing something wrong here. And the reason again is just because people don't have this clear guideline. And this clear guideline is what I call the principles. So the second tip for you is follow the main principles of chess. I've explained them in my course 7 Keys to Victory, those 7 main principles, and also in my earlier courses like the Grandmaster's Positional Understanding, for example. And it just makes me feel pain when I see that people play chess for 10 years, for 20 years, and because for lack of this knowledge, they kind of drift around, they have inconsistent results, and they never progress to the level that they really deserve. Just because they don't have this one thing. They don't follow the right principles. And if you have my courses already, then just review them from time to time. It's not enough to study them once and then put them aside and forget about them forever. If you review them from time to time, you put yourself back on track. And then if you stay on track, your results go up consistently. So that was the tip number 2, follow the main principles, don't let yourself drift around and have inconsistent results. Here comes my tip number 3 for you, play training games. This is really crucial. Playing chess game is a skill, just like swimming or cycling or driving a car or any other skill. You cannot master it by observing how other people do it. No, you gotta practice it yourself, and you also gotta constantly improve and better your skill. Let me show you what I mean. Let's think about this position for a moment. It is black to play, and please think about it. How would you play in this position as black? This is another game between 2 amateur players. Both of them are 1700 rated players, and in the actual game black played bishop to e7, which turned out to be a mistake because white can continue pawn to g4 to eliminate the pin, and once the bishop goes back, white can grab the pawn on e5 with one of his knights. And so white can win the pawn and get a significant advantage. Now let's come back to the subject of our discussion, the training games. Let's say you played a game like that where you lost due to some oversight. So what you do is you go back to that position, you turn on the engine, and you let the computer suggest you which move should have been played. And then you take your time to think about this question. What should I do better next time? How can I play better next time to avoid things like that? And by asking yourself this question, you let yourself to tweak your thinking system and to improve it. Because there are people who play thousands of blitz games in the internet, but they never improve because they just keep doing the same thing over and over again. And in order to improve, you need to add this training element. Now, I do not say that you need to analyze every game that you play. Of course not, it's going to take a lot of time. But at least, once in a while you need to do that, maybe once a week. Or if you notice that your results start declining, if you're playing blitz games and you see that you start losing your rating, then this is a perfect time to take a pause, drink a cup of tea or coffee, whatever you like, and then come back and analyze this game briefly and make this tweak in your thinking algorithm. So for example, in this case, you would notice that, alright, what happened is, at this point, the last move of white was knight to c4. So what you should have done here is, first of all, to take a second to think about the opponent's move and ask yourself, why did he play there? What is his idea? And if you take this second to think about your opponent's plans, you will notice that this knight is now potentially attacking the pawn on e5, so there could be some danger there. And if you notice this thing, you would definitely take some measures to protect that pawn. And black can do it easily, for instance by queen c7, just one of the ideas. Alright, so if you notice this theme, from your analysis, then you realize, alright, after my opponent plays a move, I need to take this second to think about his idea. And then you go back playing games, but you keep this idea in mind and you try to follow it. This way you're not just playing games over and over again on the same level, but you keep improving all the time. So again, play training games, or in other words, analyze your experience and draw some conclusions. And at least do it once in a while, maybe once a week or whenever you notice that your results decline. Playing training games is one of the main reasons why people do not progress despite of playing constant, thousands of Blitz games. It's because they never do this. And if you do, you will be progressing all the time. Here's the tip number 4. Have more time than your opponent. I know it may sound obvious, but it's really practical. The thing is, nowadays Blitz games are really popular, and you probably play a lot of Blitz games as well. And while playing Blitz game, it's of course very important to control your time, to make sure that you don't lose on time or that you don't start making mistakes due to time pressure. And the single best advice that I know for controlling the time is this one: always have more time than your opponent. If you follow this motto, you will never lose on time. And let me just show you how it works during a practical game. Let me show you what I mean by saying always having more time than your opponent and controlling this process. It means that after every move that you play, you have a look at the clock. And you need to develop this into a habit. So let's say I'm playing the move now, 92, and I'm having a look at the clock. I'm having 251 and he has more than me. So I need to control this process. So every time I played c3 and I see, alright, I've got 245, he's ahead of me, so I need to speed up. And all the time, you just keep controlling this situation. If you see that you're behind in time, then it just means that you need to speed up. So now I'm still behind. He already resigned. Anyway, so the point of this is that you constantly need to have a look at the clock and always watch over this after every move that you played. Because what happens in real games, more often than not, it is that while playing the game, we just focus our attention on the board. And we only start paying attention at the time when you're already low in time. And you really gotta start playing hasty. But this is too late. You need to keep controlling the time throughout the game. And the best way to do that is to develop this habit of, after every move that you played, you have a quick look at the clock and you make sure that you're not behind your opponent in time. Or if you found yourself behind, then you need to speed up. And here's the final tip number 5. Have your chess goals. During the 10 years that Remote Chess Academy website exists and millions of people have visited it, I have extensive feedback from different students. So I know what kind of people achieve some results and what kind of people don't. And I see the one common pattern in all the positive feedback that I receive, all those positive messages where people report about their chess successes. Always people have a certain chess goal. And even if you're not a professional player, which is true for the majority of chess players out there, still it's fine to have a certain goal, maybe to reach 1800 rating, or to reach 2000, or to become a local champion, to win your state championship, your club championship, or whatever. Whatever goal that you have is cool, it motivates you. This is in our human nature to set goals, to achieve them, and to feel this progress and feel great about yourself throughout this way. So even if you're not a professional player, it's still good to have the goals, and those who set goals have the potential to achieve them. I've seen that over and over again, and that is why I encourage you to do that. So set the goal. What kind of chess goal do you think realistic for you? Set this, and also take a little bit of time of thinking. So maybe you'll think and plan that, alright, by the end of the year I'll play in this Christmas tournament, or I'll play in that weekend tournament, at that time. If you have this goal also, then it will also motivate you to start preparing for it, to get in shape, to start training, and you'll be more driven to do that. And once you get this trophy, it's still a very pleasant event for you. Alright, now let's summarize all the 5 main lessons that I've learned from my 25 years of professional experience in chess, and that I'm sure will help you to progress in chess as well. So the tip number 1 is always make anti-blunder check. Number 2, follow the principles. It helps you to stay on track. Number 3, play training games. Chess is a practical skill and therefore you need to train it and you need to keep improving. Number 4, always have more time than your opponent. It helps you to become a great Blitz player. And number 5, have your chess goals. Those who don't have the chess goals will never achieve them, and those who do have goals have some potential to achieve them. Alright, so these were the 5 main lessons that I've learned that determine either one's progress or stagnation in chess, so I'm pretty sure that they'll help you if you follow them. And once again, let me take this opportunity to thank you so much for all the greetings that you sent me. It is very touching. Some people even took the extra effort to create some greeting cards and some other things that they sent to me. I really appreciate that a lot. Finally, due to my birthday, there are currently the special offers that we have, so you can buy any of our courses with massive discounts. The courses that I mentioned earlier in this lesson, like 7 Keys to Victory or the Grandmaster's Positional Understanding, those fundamental courses, or any other courses that we have in the Remote Chess Academy. So if you need a little bit of an extra help and more advanced tutorials, we're here to help you. And in any case, once again, thank you so much for being here. It is so fun to interact with you throughout the comments and the emails and to do this thing for you. So keep rocking, keep crushing your opponents, and all the best. Bye-bye.